Okay, factoring by grouping is brand new to you guys. Before we get started on this page, let's review just a little bit of something we did last week. If I have 3x squared plus 9x, and I ask you to factor it. Remember we were pulling the monomial out of the polynomial? What's the biggest number you can think of that goes into 3 and 9?
3x.
Oh, you're even giving me the variable. That's awesome. That's our greatest common factor, right? What did we have to do after we pulled out the greatest common factor?
We have to put whatever it is.
We had to put what remained, right, in the parentheses. And you guys liked me to say, if I remember right, 3x times what gets me here?
Yeah.
All right, so what do I need there?
X.
X. And 3x times what gets me to 9x?
Plus 3.
Plus 3. Okay, so that's a little trip down review lane there. And now, let's look at our journal page. Factoring by grouping. And I'm not going to read this to you yet because we haven't done any examples, but we'll look at it soon. All right, we'll be looking at that top left one. Factor it. Is there a greatest common factor? No. There is no number that goes into 2 and 8 and 3 and 12 other than 1, right? And does it have a common variable anywhere? Almost, except for that 12 doesn't have a variable. And so you look at this and you say, Mrs. Yates, there's no greatest common factor. That means I can't factor it. Unless, you guys see the title of that page, factoring by grouping. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. And it's going to take some practice, and that's okay. What I want you to do is split that problem right down the middle. Can you cover your face for me, sir? Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay, now that I've split it down the middle, I'm going to look at the left-hand side and I'm going to look at the right-hand side separately here for a second. What is your greatest common factor on the left-hand side?
2x squared.
Is she right? Is it 2x squared? 2x squared. And I'm still going to do the same thing. I'm going to factor it out and then put what remains in the parentheses.
That'll be x minus 4.
Oh, she did it so fast. Da, 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 and then a minus 4. Good. Now before I do the next part, I want to talk very closely about what a factor is. Factors are things that are when we multiply them together, they equal something, right? So factors are things that we multiply together to make a product. And a common factor means we would have the same thing being multiplied. So with a little foreshadowing, let's look at the right-hand side over here. What's the greatest common factor on the right-hand side?
3x.
Is it 3x or is it 3? Just 3. Brady, can you shut that for me, please?
Yes.
Thanks. All right, after I factor out that 3, what would I have?
X minus 4.
Okay, are you guys noticing anything? Maybe,
Both have the same factor.
All right, I've got an x minus 4 on the left, and I have an x minus 4 on the right. So that means it's a common factor. If I have a greatest common factor of x minus 4, we're really good at pulling our common factors, our greatest common factor out front, so that's what we're going to do. X minus 4, we factored it out front. And what's left behind? 2x squared
And 3.
plus 3. Something you thought you couldn't factor, guess what we did? We were able to factor. Does that totally look like we anti-foiled, unfoiled? Right? That's exactly what we did. We unfoiled. And this does take a little work. That's why we've got a couple more practice problems on this page. All right, moving on to the next one. Always look for a greatest common factor first. Is there one?
No.
There's not.
No.
I see 4 pieces, so what do you think I'm going to do? Split it down the middle. What is your greatest common factor on the right-hand side? Left-hand
left
side. Sorry about that.
4.
4? Any variables? No, because that doesn't have any variables, right? 4. 4 times what gives me 4 QR?
QR.
All right. And what's 84 divided by 4? Good. Now we'll move to the right-hand side. What's my greatest common factor on the right-hand side? 3 what? Yeah, they both have an S. You guys have picked up factoring faster than any Math 2 class I've had in a long, long time. You're doing great. Okay, after I factor out the S, what's left?
QR.
QR plus. All right, without me pointing it out, I know you already know. What do we have that's a common factor now? QR plus 21. What's left behind?
4 plus.
4 plus 3, yes. Beautiful. You guys all right? Let's go again. Uh-oh, there we are. Okay, what do you know that I'm already going to do? Okay. Should we go quick on this? Greatest common factor on the left. 2 what? What's left behind?
K minus 6.
Oh, I thought this one was going to have a trick, and I'm right. Ooh. Okay, so we're going to have to pay attention, right? Because this one has a trick. What's that?
I said, oh,
Oh,
I think I know.
do you? Let's find out. You might. Greatest common factor on the right.
-6.
7.
Mhm.
All right, so if I pull out a 7, I'm going to have 6 minus. Do I have a common factor?
Sure.
Yes.
Kind of.
You just have to switch around the. I know, but.
Okay, if I switch them around though, Megan, then it's just going to be a negative K plus 6. Right? You're saying put the K in front, but then, gentlemen, can I ask you to stop talking? Thank you. So if I switch them around, I have the wrong sign.
You can't switch around.
Yeah, I've got to take their signs with them, right? So here's the trick. So I'm going to remind myself, I need opposite signs. So this is the fix. I'm just going to bring everything down here. What if instead of pulling out a positive 7, I pulled out a negative 7? Changing that sign out front does what to everything in the parentheses? Changes those signs. So now I have a negative 6 plus K. Megan, can I flip-flop those now and they have the right signs? So I could rewrite that as K minus 6? Yeah. So do I have a common factor now? The right signs, the right order. My common factor is K minus 6, 2M minus 7. So what's the sneaky little trick if you've got all the right numbers but the wrong signs?
Change the the factors. in that.
Yeah, just factor out the opposite sign, factor out a negative. Should we do the last one for good measure?
Yeah.
All right.
Split down the middle.
Does anybody else need to finish this one? I didn't look before I scooted it over. All right, so you're already on the last one, and I see a lot of you working on it, and it makes me so happy. You've split it down the middle. Greatest common factor on the left.
3,
What's left behind?
5 minus
B?
yeah.
All right, and greatest common factor on the right?
4.
B minus 5?
Mm-hmm. And you gotta switch the sign.
Yes, but at first, I actually did negative 3A.
Okay, you'll have the same answer then.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great. So Megan's saying she factored out the negative here.
Yeah.
Traditionally, I will factor it out in the middle.
Mhm.
We'll have the same answer, but just know that's how I'll handle it.
Mhm.
So if I factor out this negative 4, it changes it to a negative B and a positive 5. So I could rewrite that as 5 minus B. So now I've got 5 minus B times 3A minus 4. And Megan, I promise you have the same answer, the signs, once they distribute.
Yeah, I-
Questions on that? Okay, you need to give me a second to create your assignment because I didn't get that done. But well done picking that up. Get those taped in your journals.